Under his guidance, Jabir's brilliant mind was ignited, not just with scientific curiosity, but with a deep spiritual and philosophical framework that would shape his entire life's work. Soon, Jabir's reputation for brilliance reached the ears of the Caliph himself, Harun al-Rashid, the very same ruler from the famous 1001 Nights. Jabir became the court alchemist in Baghdad, a position of immense prestige. Here, in a well-equipped laboratory funded by the powerful Barmakid family, his most significant work began. Imagine a laboratory from the 8th century, not filled with digital scales and computers, but with alembics, crucibles, and beakers, the air thick with the strange sense of distillation and crystallization. This was Jabir's kingdom. Now, let's talk about what made him the father of chemistry. Before Jabir, what we call chemistry was more like a mystical art called alchemy. Alchemists were primarily focused on two things: finding the elixir of life to grant immortality, and discovering the philosopher's stone to transmute base metals like lead into precious gold. While Jabir was deeply interested in these pursuits, he approached them with a revolutionary mindset: experimentation. He famously declared, "The first essential in chemistry is that you should perform practical work." This was a radical idea. For the first time, someone was insisting that knowledge must be based on tangible, repeatable evidence, not just on ancient texts and philosophical speculation. So, what did he actually discover? His contributions are staggering. He also worked on making steel, dyeing cloth, tanning leather, and creating waterproof varnishes. He even described how to create an invisible ink that would appear when heated. This wasn't magic, it was applied chemistry. But Jabir's work went far beyond just practical chemistry. He developed a whole theoretical framework to explain the world around him. One of his most influential ideas was the sulfur-mercury theory of metals. He proposed that all metals were formed from two primary constituents: sulfur, which represented the principle of combustibility, and mercury, which represented the principle of fusibility and shininess. According to this theory, the differences between metals like gold, silver, and lead were simply due to the different proportions and purity of this internal sulfur and mercury. This led directly to his belief in transmutation. For Jabir, turning lead into gold wasn't a magical act, but a scientific one. If he could just rebalance the internal sulfur-mercury ratio of lead and purify it, he could theoretically transform it into gold. He believed this could be achieved through a mysterious substance called the elixir. His quest for the elixir wasn't just about getting rich. It was about achieving perfection in the mineral world, a reflection of the spiritual perfection he sought in his own life. This is why his texts were often deliberately obscure. He believed such profound knowledge was dangerous in the wrong hands and should only be understood by true adepts who were spiritually prepared. This secrecy has made his work incredibly difficult for modern historians to decipher, and this is where the Jabarian problem comes in. When his works were translated into Latin in the Middle Ages, they had a profound impact on European alchemy and the burgeoning field of chemistry. European alchemists, under the Latinized name Geber, studied his texts for centuries. Words we use every day, like alkali and alembic, come directly from his Arabic terminology. He introduced the importance of systematic experimentation and observation, shifting alchemy from a purely mystical pursuit toward a genuine experimental science. He was a man who stood with one foot in the world of ancient mysticism and the other firmly planted in the world of empirical science. He was an alchemist who sought the philosopher's stone, but also a chemist who gave us nitric acid, a philosopher who saw numbers in nature, and a scientist who insisted on hands-on proof. Jabir Ibn Hayyan's story reminds us that the path to scientific discovery is often winding and complex. He shows us that science and spirituality are not always in opposition, but can be two sides of the same coin in the quest to understand our universe. Whether a single man or a secret society, the name Geber represents a monumental leap forward in human knowledge. A true giant on whose shoulders later scientists would stand. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the past. If you enjoyed this exploration of history and science, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more stories like this, and let me know in the comments which historical figure you'd like to learn about next. See you in the next video.